Hi guys, Terry here. Today I'm going to work on some Easter cards because Easter's right around the corner. And I got out my stamp set here with some bunnies on it. This is from Close to My Heart. It's number S2201. It's called Sweet Little Things, and it was the stamp of the month, I think in January or February. Cannot remember. I think their catalog was January, February. So I thought this was just precious. And it was hard to decide which ones. This one they're looking up at, and this one they're passing some flowers. So let's use this one here. This is what the finished card is going to look like. Isn't that cute? They're so cute. So what I like to do when I've got a scene like this is I'll stamp it on some white, and then I'll put a pretty piece of pattern paper behind it. And if you notice, there's stitching along the side here. That is from a Gina K Designs die. Now she's got a set called Master Layouts number 2. And I like this one because it's got stitching, and then it's also got a layer where you can put just a slim little bit of color behind that one too. So I didn't think this card called for it, but if you wanted to, that die set provides a nice little layer behind that one. So I like that. And then I just grab any kind of paper pack that you have. I like to use the little 6x6s because the prints are usually just a little bit better sized for a card front. Sometimes 12x12 paper has a really big print on it, so the 6x6 pads just have nice little prints on them. So you just pick any color out of there, and we'll cut it to size. This one's cute. Here, the flowers and the plaids. So let's pick the plaid there. That one's really cute. We'll make that the size of the card front, so we'll trim that down. And then when we stamp it, because I'm coloring it with my alcohol markers, I like to use clear embossing powder after I stamp, just to make that have just a little bit of a protective coating so that the alcohol doesn't smear the ink. And then it does have a little bit of a sheen to it, and I think it just makes it makes the ink look more substantial. So love that. I've got my Stampin' Up Stampin' Blends, and I've just got a color that I thought would complement the bunny rabbits. And I store my Stampin' Blends in this case. I'll see if I can find this on Amazon. It's nice because it holds all my Stampin' Blends in it. Love that for that. So we'll get out something to color the grass. So we'll get out that one. And then we'll probably get out something to color the flowers. Let's do just get something that's in the color of the paper there. Maybe something like this. So those will be Eastery colors. And then I like to use Nina cardstock as I like the 110 pound for my card base, and then I also have some thinner Nina that's, I think, 65 pounds. So I use that for what I stamp on. So I cut my 8.5 by 11, I quarter it so that I've got these for the card fronts, and then I will use my die to trim that down, and it'll have the stitching on it. So let's stamp a few of these, because if we're going to send out cards, let's make a batch of them. And let's get to stamping. This was the January stamp of the month from Close to My Heart. I'm just going to put it about in the middle of my piece of paper here. I love to use my Misty. You could also use a stamp block. This is the smaller Misty. I use it when I'm card making. And then I love to use VersaFine black onyx ink. It's just, this thing has just stayed so, just the ink has stayed so nice on it. It just gives a lot of coverage. I love that about it. And then I recently bought one of these hockey pucks. I finally gave in. I see everybody using them. This is nice for just pushing on your stamp positioner tool. You probably could do it on your stamp block too, but it just gives it a good even pressure by pushing down on this little hockey puck. I found a set of 4 of these for about $13 on Amazon, so I'll link to that. So love that. Let's put the clear embossing powder on here. I keep my clear embossing powder in a little Tupperware container here. The little plastic spoon. Just give it a good coating of the dry embossing powder. This powder is made up of glue and little plastic things that melt when you hit it with the heat tool. So let me stamp these all. I've got 4 of them here to make. We'll stamp them and then we'll hit them with the heat tool. So the MISTI allows me to just put my paper back in here and stamp the next one. The nice thing about the MISTI too is if you miss a spot, you can certainly re-stamp it and put your paper in the same spot down in the bottom corner, and that way you can put more ink on it if you need to. You've got to get the embossing powder on there quickly before the ink dries. You want it to adhere to that wet ink. Boy, I resisted getting one of these, but it does make it nicer. Otherwise, I was just, you know, doing the CPR thing, pushing it all, and you might miss a spot. So, they keep inventing new things for us to buy, don't they? Okay, one more. I have started making, when I make cards, I make a handful of them, because you got all your supplies out. Might as well. I like to send out cards for the holidays. I think it's just so fun to go out to your mailbox and find something that somebody sent you happy mail. Okay, so we've got those. Let me heat up my heat gun. Oh, let me wipe off the stamp. So I use a stamp chamois to wipe off any ink off the MISTI and off of the stamps, just to keep them nice. I keep it in a little plastic DVD case. It keeps it moist for the day while I'm making it, but then I do open it up and let it dry at night. Okay, we've got that. Let's let these... I'm letting my heat tool get warmed up, and then I will melt the embossing powder. So now I'm going to use my die cutting machine to cut out my little bunnies. And like I said, this die has a little stitch border around the outside. I'm just placing it here, kind of in the middle. And I'm taping it down with this little purple tape. And then we'll just run it through the Cuttlebug. I don't have an electronic cutter yet. I keep resisting. I have this small Cuttlebug, and then I have a large Sizzix Big Shot machine. I have not bought a electric one yet. If you've bought an electric one, put it in the comments and tell me how you like it. I hear really good things about it. I just haven't taken that plunge yet. I usually travel with this one. My big shot is the large one. So there it is with the stitch die on it. I have this other stamp set from Close to My Heart called A1246 Happy Easter Bunny, and he is really cute too. I made a couple of cards with him. Here's what those look like. He's really cute. This one I stamped on like a newspaper print, and it turned out really cute. I didn't color him, I liked it just plain. But I like this stamp set because of the Happy Easter words that are on there. So I'm going to stamp those on the front of my cards. You could stamp this in a different color. I'm just doing the black again. Now I cut my 6x6 paper down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That fits the front of an A2 card. And then we just need to color these bunnies. What I did was I took my light Stampin' Blends, and that's why I like the Stampin' Blends. They give you a light and a dark color. With so many alcohol markers, you have to figure out which markers go together, and I like that there's a light and a dark, because this way what I do is color the whole thing in a light color, and then I go back and shade with the dark color. And alcohol markers, of course, have alcohol in them, so when you color, it looks darker than the final product is going to be. But I like the alcohol markers instead of just regular water markers, because this doesn't show the lines after it gets smoothed out. I do try to color the shape, but really you don't see the lines in the alcohol marker. So there's the light, and then I'll go back, and what I do is, to know where to do the dark, a lot of times the artist will give you a hint of where the dark lines would be. It'd be dark under his head. Anytime a shape is touching another shape, like where the ears overlap, it would be dark there. Here on the side of the head, the artist has kind of drawn those little shade spots. So that's all I do, is make it dark where those little spots are. And then I go back with the light one again and just spread over that a little bit so that it's just not such a harsh line. And I'm not a professional by any means, but I just don't want those lines to be a harsh. And like I said, after it dries, it looks even better. So we'll do the flower. Just picking a color. And then I might even get a pink out for their ears. I'll leave their tails white. And then I'll just use this green to just make a little swag of ground that they're standing on. I think I like using the embossing powder to make the ink have that protective coating, also because it will keep the alcohol markers from bleeding past. I don't know if it's I do a better job of coloring inside that bold line or if it's really helping the alcohol to not spread, because the alcohol does absorb into the paper. That's why I do this on a layer and don't do it directly onto the card front, because inside your card you would see the that coloring. You want to be sure to put the cap back on your alcohol marker when you're done. Because they have alcohol, it does evaporate and dry out the ink very quickly. So as soon as you're done coloring, put the lid back on. Keep them covered. The Stampin' Up! Blends are not refillable. You can't buy ink to, you just have to buy new markers. They come in a set of the light and the dark. So I'm encouraging you to look through your stash of stamps. And it doesn't have to be an Easter card, but it could just be something springy. I'm sure you have something in your stash that people would love to see on the front of a card. And then I know we all have pattern paper to use just to add another little bit of color to the cards. And that looks pretty good. So I will glue that to the front of my card, and it will, I think it'll look very Eastery. Okay, so let me get my card bases cut, and we'll glue these together. So I use the Nina 110-pound cardstock. It is very thick. I'll have links to all the products that I've used today on my website. If you use those links from Amazon, I get a little bit of a commission, and it just helps me keep these videos coming for you. So I appreciate that. It adds no cost to you. This is a Score Pal. Because this paper is so thick, if you tried to fold it without putting this crease in there, it might not fold perfectly straight. So I use that and the bone folder to flatten it. And then I like to use liquid glue. Everybody has their different preference. And I don't put a lot on. If you put a lot of liquid glue on, because remember there's water in here, so you don't want to put a lot on. You just want to put a nice thin bead. If you do get a blotch, spread it out there. And remember, we're going to put this, I almost forgot, we're going to put this on a piece of pattern paper, and then we'll glue that onto the card base. There you go. If you ever forget what size A2 cards are, it's half of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. I like to use my Misty machine to weigh that down, hold it in place while the glue dries, kind of flattens it out. Okay, so for the back of my cards, I recently ordered this Homemade by Terry Cowens, rednup.com. So it is a stamp. I think I bought it from, I don't know if it was Snapfish or stamps.com. I'll have to look up where I ordered it from. But it turned out really cute. So what I do is I stamp on the back. It's one of those self-inking stamps. So I can just put it on the back of the card. And then I've got my little homemade thing for the back of the card. Isn't that cute? I had recently given some cards away to some friends in Florida, and one of them mentioned that I should have my name on the back of them, so I thought that was really cute. So that's the last thing I do before I mail them out. Let's just put that on the back. So I don't know, people have asked me about selling them, but I like to make them and give them away. I don't think you can make much on them selling them, so to me it's a simple piece of paper that I send out to friends and family, and when I get a big batch of them made, I give them away. So hopefully you do that too. There's a lot of people out there that like to send cards, so pass them along to those folks and let them send them out. So I hope you have a great holiday. Spring is here. It's very warm now in Ohio, and we're loving that. So I just hope you have a great week. Bye now.